Eventually, the signs of new life start appearing everywhere, and spring begins its yearly renewal. There's life in the red. Incredibly, some have survived the flood. Triggered by the rise in the water temperature, the still buried baby salmon are getting restless. As one moves inside its egg case, the others around it react, stimulated into their own struggle to escape. They're beginning to hatch. These young salmon, just 10 millimeters long, are known as alvins. They burrow down into the gravel bed and huddle together. Kept alive by feeding from their yolk sac. Almost all of them will survive this stage of their growth. Over time, they begin to color up, develop tail and fin features, and show signs of their transition into the next stage.
Right, so ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I just want you to take notice of that. That's a 54-pound salmon, and he was caught by Fred Milburn. He was 54-pound salmon from the Lower Shannon River at Donass in the year 1903, before the ESB Shannon hydroelectric scheme destroyed the river. And that's the truth. And this is brought to you by Old River Shannon Foundation. Now, lads, to think that them fish were swimming up the river only 100 years ago, and the river's only 150 yards that way, to think that they're passed up that fucking river in their drawers until all this, the rest of the video that you see, all this got in their way and wiped them out. So keep watching, ladies and gentlemen, and learn some truths. So on we go. Roisin, take it away there. Roisin. Forgot that she's out again, isn't she? She's out, something else wrong with the
We're looking for now, think, oh, the gate's up north, when it's not. There's another one down the back coast. I don't know why they just, like, what gives the ASB the right to stop every salmon passing here and getting up where they've been going for thousands of years? I mean, they're supposed to be helping produce electricity, not wipe out the fucking salmon stocks. Like, who gives them the right? Like, who gives them the right? It boils my blood. Who gives them the fucking right? These people in suits.
People, right, this is the back of the Arna Crusher Dam abroad there in Park Dean, right, only out the road there. And I often went up and down here in the boat, looking at the setup. So basically, I'm getting this from the Old Shannon River Foundation. That chap there, I used to be watching his stuff before. I often chatted to him on Facebook, but I don't be on Spybook anymore. So, but I'm not sure, he might be on YouTube. But anyway, I'm after getting this here to have a look at it. So look, as I said, I often went up myself in the boat, and the salmon are supposed to swim over here. No fish is going to want to head into all that concrete, right? That's after coming up the majestic, mighty Shannon Freedom, a big massive estuary, out of the ocean into massive estuary, and now they want him to squeeze on into that box with all that thunderous noise going on around him. I mean, that's why they sit out there on the tail rest and the headrest for donkeys, if they ever do tail back and head up towards Placid, but if not, they'll just die at the back of this dam, right, or they'll be poached out of it. So the fish are supposed to swim in there, and they're supposed to wait till that fills up, then that fills up then, and it carries them out there, and it lets them out of the dam at the other side. Now, I don't know, I don't think it's constantly open. It only opens now and then, every now and then or something. But even if it was constantly open, what fish is going to want to navigate that? What he's naturally, I mean, they're not stupid, right? We'll get our head around it. Salmon are not stupid. That's why they're not easy to catch. They are intelligent fish, right? They have some intelligence, and their intelligence will tell them, their natural instinct will tell them, what's all that thunderous noise? What's the small black square? What's this all about? Where's the sky gone from above me? I don't remember going through any of these square tunnels. So like, when is he going to decide to swim into that and go up here? It's beyond me, right? It's beyond me. So you can see what I'm trying to say. In the grand scale of things, you had to wear, in Torment, we are stripping the salmon, literally wipe them out for years. This contraption is wiped them out for the last 100 years. And the weir above, the Partine so-called dam above in Killaloo is also wiping them out. So like the salmon, they literally, man, it's just astronomical. The odds are stacked against them. It's just off of the chart. So we'll let this play away there, and I brought you from the Old Shannon River Foundation, alright? Sub up this channel or find him online, he's very interesting. So anyone went up there on the boat like myself many times know exactly what you're looking at here. Out there, the salmon are supposed to go up and out there. Right, so on we go, so we press play. Roisin, take it away. Oh yeah, Roisin's not here, that's right. She's out. Right, lads, so I let it play. So they're Torment weir there, right? And the amount of fish, salmon that took off the river over the years is astronomical. And these videos were done now in the late 70s. This is when the salmon stocks were being wiped, literally wiped out. The salmon would swim in there into the cages, and anyone that knows, they'd electrocute them, and then they'd hoist them up. And then they'd roll them along the weir and box them and send them to places like England and France onto the market. I doubt if any Irish people was eating them anyway. So basically, this is how they wiped out the salmon stocks in the Shannon River. This is only a couple. This is only one little setting they're showing you. Them boxes used to be full to busting point back in the days. There's about 60 odd salmon here on the ground, I counted them. That's just one little scoop. As I said, out of one gate. There was gates going literally the whole way across the fucking weir. So that's how they wiped out the salmon stocks back in the day. The Shannon River. The ESB, and this is what they're doing now. They're still carrying on the same thing. They've wiped the salmon stocks out in the Shannon, one of the best fisheries in Europe, right? And now above in the Partine Dam up in Killaloo. Don't know why they call it the Partine Dam, but they do. Well, up there now, the salmon can't get through because all the gates are shut as usual.
Water line with the wall. See?
Yeah, the mast is the very same way. That tells you they're closed. You're on the ball. That's exactly telling you they're closed. The mast line is exactly going across the gate, across the wall. If they were open, the mast would be up higher.
Yeah.
They're dead straight across, so all gates are closed. That's nice to know, like. In September, all gates are closed. Yeah, this gate is, see, it looks open, but there's another bit behind. It's closed as well. All gates closed. That's a fact. That's any water going through, that's all. They let the water through, but all gates are closed. Down there, fairness. That's the only salmon out from up this side, when they should have it going down the far side to draw the salmon into the pass. So why they have it open back here again is beyond me. They always seem to be leaving it down this side, and it's fish dinner coming here, when they should be leaving it down over there to drag the fish up the pass. But of course, if you have all gates closed, makes no difference. Ah? Deliberately, like. I mean, why else would you do that? It's the only reason you're doing it. The water's coming on this side, all the gates are closed on that side. Why else would you do that?
That's not just this year, that's years and years.
It's gonna... We used to have them up there now. That was all a hatchery one time. Back in the days when they were busy with that. A long time since that was open.
Yeah.
Like a big stagnated swamp. That wasn't open donkeys, but look at this. It's a fantastic, it's a well built. It was built perfect to help the salmon up and down. If they just open the gates and let it do what it was supposed to do, it'd be fantastic, you know. They came back.
Complicated things for the white fish, and they left them alone, the fish came back after
100%. That's what they've done. That's what. But sure, they do the same here. They just opened up that and let the fish do their thing. They have some hope of coming back. Just having a little look around more than anything. Fantastic the way it's built though. Door solid, all deep, fish can fly through them. Not a bother, they just left the gates open, boom. Be fantastic, wouldn't it? I mean, it's a well-built fish pass. And they're on about breaking in here. All they got to do is, you notice something, they took away the walkways that were down there, look.
Remember they used to catch the fish there as well.
Yeah, they used to get them, that's right. Took away all the walkway under there, we often went down it. That's not easy. I don't think they're bringing anything in else to grass in. But the fish come up there using out. There's the water down here which there isn't. See what? Alright, they're doing a bit of work in that, I know. But see what's happening is they're leaving the water down the far side and it draws the fish up and they stay over around there. But there used to be no turbine here years ago, turbine in there, and they used to come on and they used to push the water out there and the fish didn't be drawn to this side. Straight up through the weir, through the steps, not a bother, through the fish pass. But that's all well and good, and they'd fly through it, no problem. But if the gates are closed up there, then they can't get in. And we were up there a few years ago, and that's exactly the way it was when we were up there. The fish were up there, all at the gate, couldn't get through. They were putting in all computers down here, and gates and cameras, and all that was going on. And it looks like they took it away again now after all that crack. That's where the water used to pump out, yeah.
Used to be smart generator here or something.
Yeah. Turbine, there wasn't, the water's to gush out. Fish didn't be drawn in there naturally.
Which you should have, that's the way it should
The way it should be.
And the fish used to hang out there, then all out there, as you remember. Remember
Yeah,
up there?
I know. Sure, look,
over
it's
there on the
insane.
clear side where the fish are open to be poached.
I know, poached.
And prawned and everything else.
And just said
to
if...
protect the few fish that's left.
Look, man, if they wanted to, they could turn on that, or open that, let the water through, let the fish up there, straight in and straight. Look, they took away all the guts, and it's in here now. There used to be walkways in there, you come down steps and you'd walk it and you feed it through off the water there. But it's a fantastic, well-built fish pass, it's a pity. What's this? There's a tree in the middle since we were last year, huh? Look at this, though. There's some more sand down along. The speed don't tap us. Like that tells you a lot, like last time I was up and out. Like that's a fish pass and there is a tree. In fairness, it looks cool. Yeah, they've all the barriers and the gates are all over there still, look. But are they in use is another thing. All gates closed, you see, the fish can't get up if all gates are closed. We don't have a look. My man could come over there now any minute like a dog. Go on for get out, and God knows that. All gates closed again, look. But if they took away all that, like you'd come up there naturally, boom, no problem, up the whole way around and then out the gates if they left them open. But as I said, and I said again, if they don't open the gates, what good is it? A fantastic fish pass, but what good is it if all this is... And a majestic fish pass, if they would just let it... Look at the way that grew, man, that grew long. I mean, they're all deep and they're wide, any fish would have no problem going through that. Look at the old tree and all that they're popping up there, Nash. It was cool out. Right, there's a rope there to pull up the bar. Good technology. A rope. Pulling the rope, see will it lift it up. So basically everything is closed. So if any fish are out there trying to get up the Shannon, they can't. That's the first obstacle there. There's the next obstacle. So it's all blocked off. Nothing can get up and nothing can get down. Unless they decide to open that prick of a gate. And this is literally welded shut. The damn fucking disgrace. The fucking disgrace, man. White folk, the Atlantic salmon, all damage is done. Yeah. And it's still continuing with the number of dogs to continue to do it today. Yeah. So look, there you go. The fishing is brutal. There's no salmon hardly getting up the river, especially the Shannon. This is closed in September. That should be all open for any redfish that want to get up the lake. It's all the way because it's closed all year round. Nothing can get up there, right? It's a damn disgrace. A fucking damn disgrace. Nothing can look. The fish, the majestic Shannon River, freedom the whole way. Then you come to this wall and it all ends in here. Here's where it all fucking ends. God give me. It's a damn disgrace. Boils my blood, man. But what they really should do is just open up the fish pass, open the gates and let the natural pull of water do what it's supposed to do.
What's up here looks at that, listen, it's a great fish pass. What's wrong here? Badly managed.
Yeah. What's this now here, lads?
Exploiting the salmon is what they're doing.
These, I'm gonna have to wipe this. Can't see a damn thing. Right, there's a part of the hatchery here, right? But it's not in use. So if anyone comes on, they'll think, all right, this hatchery is not in use, the fish pass is not in use. Well, yet if you have a closer look, you'll see the fish pass is in use. It looks derelict, but it's all the gates are closed. That means it's in use. If it wasn't in use, all the gates would be open, but they're closed. All them fish, little hatchery there looks like it's there, nothing going on. But yet we were over there, a hatchery there where it's all going on. They're not putting them into the Shannon.
Salmon fry.
They must be selling them to the seafood.
Not many of them are going to go to the Shannon anyway.
They must be going to the fish farms.
Yeah,
Boys,
more likely fish farms and being supplied to other fisheries around Ireland.
Because they're not going into the Shannon and they're not being put into the mulch here.
No.
So look, at least they're doing something, but I don't think it's... All gates are closed and they're breeding salmon fry for some other rivers by the look of it. You can read between the lines, you know what I mean? 2 and 2 is fucking 4, no matter how you dice it. That's it. Shannon Hydroelectricity Development, designed by and constructed by Siemens, 1925 to 1929.
The tumbling place, breaking away, they've all repaired all this.
Yeah, you can see.
Tumbling away up there.
I suppose.
The old repair work then. It's coming up to their 100th anniversary.
100th anniversary, that's it, yeah.
Now, and that's why they were saying they were trying to push them on with getting something here.
Right.
Bullshit. There's nothing to do what they have to do there.
Open up the gates. That's all they got to do, man. Open the fucking gates. Like this. Open the gates. Open the fucking damn gates. More ropes and pulleys for this setup as well. Just go open this bit behind like that, you see.
To give you the false illusion that the gate is
open, yeah. There's another one at the back, you see.
Yeah.
You look at the front now, think, oh, the gate's up and open, when it's not. There's another one down the back closed. I don't know why they just... Like, what gives the ASB the right to stop every salmon passing here and getting up where they've been going for thousands of years. I mean, they're supposed to be helping produce electricity, not wipe out the fucking salmon stocks. Like, who gives them the right? Like, who gives them the right? It boils my blood. Who gives them the fucking right? These people in suits, the right to do that. One thing, make electricity, do that if that's what you're doing and you're using the river to make it. But while you're at it, instead of respecting the river and the salmon, no, you build a big fucking, you build a fantastic fish pass, but you decide to block it all off. Damn disgrace. This boils my fucking blood. Fish pass gate one closed, like all of them. Like a few years ago when we were up there, there's a couple of fish in around here and a few fish there. But they couldn't get out. The gates were closed. They were just sitting in there like that, sitting in there like that. God knows they would have been in there months. God knows they've probably died eventually.
Headrace of the canal side of the dam now over there, isn't it?
Yeah, it is there, yeah. And she's all gates are closed over there as well.
It draws the water off down here, over there for kind of crushing look.
Yeah, and if the fish now, look, it's a pity, like, you know, it's such a pity, I mean. It's a fine dam for what it is, like, and they built a fantastic fish pass, like, that's all I know. They built a majestic fish pass if the people of today would just open the fucking gate. But I've done a video on this 8 years ago, could be 10 years ago, and I was still at the same thing if they would just open the fucking gates. Yeah. 10 years later, nothing has changed, right? Nothing has changed.
No, right? On the Clumbin River, many years ago, a couple of scientists got together and they were trying to figure out, the government wanted to know why the salmon were not coming up the Clumbin River like they used to. And they discovered, while they were trying to figure it out, and I put this out in videos before, so download this video that you're watching now and keep it because they'll probably take it down again, alright? It's going to be harder and harder to get the information of what's going on. Same with my videos I got there now that I'm putting up. They'll probably stop people from making their way in there fully one day, so no one will get to see what's really going on. So as I said, download the video anyway. So back to the parking wheel. Anyway, yeah, so back to the Clumbin River. So what the scientists discovered, right, that the salmon refused to go up the Clumbin River if the fluoridation in the water had exceeded so many parts per million. I'm not sure exactly what the parts per million was, but the salmon would only take so much. When they come up the Clumbin River, the more fluoride that made its way into the Clumbin River, the salmon would turn away from it. It became toxic for them, if for want of a better word. They couldn't hack it, so they'd turn away and they'd go back down the Clumbin River and try and find somewhere else to go. And if they didn't, well, they'd just die off, right? And the salmon stocks are depleted more and more until eventually they're literally wiped out. Now, I know there's dams across the Clumbin River, but that's not what we're talking about. That did have an effect on the salmon. But the scientists discovered by mistake that fluoride in the water wasn't turning the salmon back down the river. Now I can only imagine the amount of fluoride that makes its way into the Shannon River from the housing estates close by. All the tap water and everywhere and anywhere for donkey's years has been flowing into the Shannon River. Right, so fluoride is constantly escaping into the rivers, even today. Out your drains, down your drains, taps running down the drains, into the stormwater, out into the river. So just know that, right? So that'd be one of the reasons. But the ASB were the main problem. The ASB, they knew the salmon stocks were dying, literally being wiped out, and they pushed them salmon to fucking breaking point, alright? Right, so Darren Garner, am I correct in saying that the commercial fishery had no Queen's Gap, right? That's a load of fish up and down, All River Shannon Foundation, that's correct. Thomond Weir had no free gap. All salmon were counted upstream with the ESB allowed to take 28% of the total run until July 19th each year. And I'm sure they only took 28% too somehow or other. I doubt that, and I guarantee you my man knows that they took a lot more too, like anyone else would. So that's it in a nutshell, right? So the salmon stocks were literally wiped out. I remember when I was younger, my father constantly be up and down the island field chatting to Morris Troy. They'd be always going on about the weir is taking the salmon out. I mean, they had gates across the whole weir. There is no free gap, no Queen's Gap, or whatever gap you want. There was nothing open. All the fish could be stopped, full stop. Then they had a cheek in the ASB to win and say, we need to count each and every fish going through here. Every single fish had been exploited, do you understand? You can just imagine the salmon coming up the river. Everyone has to be picked up, messed around with count, the printed cages, all the messing around. And they were taking 28%. Maybe if they did take 28%, they probably took all the massive ones and put back the smallest ones. And over time, if you keep taking the big fish, well, the gene pool gets smaller and smaller till you have only nothing but small fish coming up. Right, but they're total destruction. And the same for fishermen all over Ireland. If you're allowed to fish and keep salmon, in September all fish should be left back, all red fish should be put back. Them fish now are at home, they're waiting to pair off, they have paired off a lot of them, and they're waiting now to go up and spawn. That's it, that is the beginning. And when them fish are ready and people throughout Ireland are taking them out of the rivers, they're only killing their own sport. They're wiping out the fish, you get me? They're killing it for themselves. We should respect the salmon. Say, look, he's made it up. He's in the river. He's up there. God knows how long he's up there. He's gone red. You know, let the fish live. Let him get up. He's most likely, as I said, paired off. But look, I release them all. But I mean, if we want to keep the fishing alive and the sport alive, we need to release the red fish. Anyone in Ireland, if you're allowed to fish and keep fish in September, you should do the right thing. Do what's best for the salmon and release that fish. Because that fish most likely has went through hell and high water to get there. Survived all the odds against him from the time he was a little fucking egg in that very same river. Came down, survived floods and storms and predators and nits and oceans and everything for years. Struggled and made it back up. And in September that fish has paired off or is about to pair off with its partner. And now the final steps are in place where it swims up and finds the stream and spawns.
Time and again, they're thrown back down. For some, it's a bruising experience. Battered and exhausted, they're forced to rest between attempts, then try again. The urge to breed is too compelling to resist. Salmon have been seen leaping up falls over 3.5 meters high. It may take many attempts before they finally make it, but it's what they were born to do. They've made it. This incredible journey started near the Arctic Circle nearly a year ago and finished here nearly 3,000 miles later.
The cycle continues. I know the respect for the fish. I mean, look at the work they have to do to get up that river to spawn. So surely be to God we could release the red fish while they're almost touching. They can taste what they've set out to do.
There's no time to waste. They're close to exhaustion. Using her powerful tail, the female digs a nest called a red. As she does so, she also leaks small quantities of ovarian fluid into the water. These pheromones attract male fish. It's a signal that she's ready to lay her eggs. 2 younger males are eager to breed with her. One of them vibrates his body next to the female in an attempt to get her to lay her eggs. But she'd prefer her eggs to be fertilized by a larger, stronger male. So she nips at this upstart to discourage him. This much larger male is a better proposition. He's been attracted by her scent. He's nearly 1 meter long and has an impressive kype. All qualities which the female finds much more alluring. He drives the young males away to keep the female for himself. It could be his last chance to mate. For her part, she continues to dig the red, constantly testing its depth by dipping her anal fin into it. With the other males chased away, the mature male sidles up to the female. They both vibrate their bodies as the female releases her eggs and the male fertilizes them with his sperm. But it's not just the mature males that fertilize eggs. This juvenile salmon is called a par. He sneaks in and also releases his milk. In some cases, the sexually mature par managed to fertilize some of the eggs. He's known as the precocious par. Salmon eggs are sticky, so they adhere to each other and to the gravel in the bottom of the red. The female then shovels gravel from upstream to backfill and cover the red. This creates another red. For safety, she'll repeat this process, laying packets of eggs until she has no more. With the eggs now fertilized and safe, her task is complete. The purpose of their long, hard journey has been fulfilled. The mating is over. An otter comes driving through, scattering the salmon. But it seems he's not interested in the big meals right in front of him. He continues his journey downstream. The fish haven't fed for nearly a year, and they're exhausted. This female and many of the males are showing signs of a fungus infection. If a salmon loses more than 40% of its body weight, the chances of it surviving are slim. Some, mostly females, can make it back to the sea and feed again. But most males die after spawning. Poor conditioning and the stress of fighting other males for the right to breed has taken its toll. Unlike their Pacific cousins, some Atlantic salmon make it back to sea to feed and return again. A female that's made it back to spawn 3 times will have swum more than 18,000 miles in her lifetime, surviving many predators along the way. In her spawnings, she'll have laid around 20,000 eggs. She truly is a remarkable mother. It's quite possible that some of these magnificent creatures may die within meters of the very spot where they themselves hatched. But nature's life cycle continues. And as the bodies of the dead fish decompose, they add nutrients to the water. The quality of life in the river is improved, as is that of their young waiting buried in the riverbed. As the temperatures fall to below 0, ice forms. But the female has chosen her spot well. Her precious eggs are safe, deep in the red. The water flowing through is well oxygenated, keeping the eggs healthy and free from parasites.
And I'll just put this in for good measure. I got about 5, hooked about 7 fish this year, got about 4 or 5 of them, can't remember, I think it was 4, maybe 5, and released them all. Balls of silver, left them off. My brother Omar this year, he's got about 20 fish, I'd say, probably more. 5 of them were salmon, he released them all, and all the other fish, all fresh balls of silver, we left them go. Because that's the only way to protect the river. It's as simple as that. And unfortunately, my brother Omar doesn't bring a camera, so, but if I was there, I could have recorded it. But just think of that, lads, release the salmon. Release them. You get so much more enjoyment when you watch that fish swimming away free again. You had the power to kill or let it live, and you left it live, and it's just so much better for you and the river, and obviously for the fish.
Huge storms have hit the coast. They've coincided with unusually high spring tides and have caused terrible floods, bringing misery to thousands of people. and devastating many hundreds of homes. For the salmon, it's a disaster too. The floodwater is thick with silt washed off the land. Many reds will have been washed away. Others will have been covered with silt, starving the eggs of the oxygen they need to survive. For many salmon, the journey will have been in vain. Eventually, the signs of new life start appearing everywhere, and spring begins its yearly renewal. There's life in the red. Incredibly, some have survived the flood. Triggered by the rise in the water temperature, the still buried baby salmon are getting restless. As one moves inside its egg case, the others around it react, stimulated into their own struggle to escape. They're beginning to hatch. These young salmon, just 10 millimeters long, are known as alvins. They burrow down into the gravel bed and huddle together. Kept alive by feeding from their yolk sac. Almost all of them will survive this stage of their growth. Over time, they begin to color up, develop tail and fin features, and show signs of their transition into the next stage. The alvins have now become fry. They're about 20 millimeters long. They've left the gravel and must find shelter amongst the rocks and stones on the river bed. They're beginning to look like salmon, but they're still very vulnerable. Most will fall prey to birds and other fish. And if food is in short supply, many will starve. After about a year, they're known as parr. The vertical markings on them are called parr marks. They're a form of camouflage. Their diet has changed too. Now they feed on aquatic insects. They're highly territorial and won't tolerate others who come into their field of view. They prefer to live in areas with larger stones. The stones hide their neighbors. As parr, they remain in the river between 2 and 4 years. When they get to about 12 centimeters, they're known as smolts. The parr marks begin to fade, and their organs are beginning to change to allow them to process salt water when they go to sea. This is also the time when the scent of the river is imprinted in their memory for the return journey. They're ready to go to sea. Lying up during the day to avoid predators, the smolts feed in the evening light. They've spent most of their lives fighting to stay apart, but when the outward journey starts, the smolts gather and travel downstream together, moving mostly in the evening and at night, back to the main stem of the river and on to the estuary. The predators are still there. The smolts must find their way past them out through the estuary to the open sea. They're less than 20 centimeters long, and for the first time they're swimming in salt water. They need to move quickly north, way up to the feeding grounds. The salmon is one of the most scientifically researched fish in the world. These anesthetized salmon are being tagged before being released back into the river. Here, young salmon and trout parr are being stunned by an electric current. An anesthetic stops them from getting stressed when they're handled. Their numbers and size are recorded before they're released back into the burn. This is a rotary trap. As the smolts swim downriver towards the sea, some of them are caught. Again, their size and numbers are recorded before they're released. We know a lot about their life in the river, and we're learning more about their life at sea. In Scotland, salmon numbers have declined on many rivers. They've already disappeared altogether from some Mediterranean rivers, but the threats to them have multiplied and they're in serious trouble. Of the thousands of smolts who make it to the sea, 95% will perish. In the past, over many years, thousands of the salmon and sea trout which survived have been caught and killed annually on their return by coastal mixed stock fishing nets. These nets catch the fish before they enter their natal rivers to breed. Huge conservation efforts are being made to improve their chances of survival. If we permanently remove the coastal nets and allow the salmon to make it to their home rivers, and if, in those rivers, anglers release their catch, more salmon will make it upstream to breed. The life cycle of the Atlantic salmon, hatching from its egg to live buried in the gravel, growing into a parr, surviving 4 years in the river, then entering the sea as a smolt, and returning years later to its home river. It's one of the true wonders of nature. It's also what's known as an indicator species, which means that the strengths and weaknesses of its population help us to measure the health of the wider environment. And it's now in serious trouble. We can help to save it. Images such as this leave no doubt that the Atlantic salmon truly is the king and queen of fish.
It's not always about catching fish. It's nice to catch a fish, but there's so much more to fishing than catching the salmon. And without the salmon, you wouldn't even go to the river. So think about it that way. Release the salmon, show respect for the salmon. You know, show them a bit of love after all they go through. And we are filled with enjoyment for fishing because of these fantastic salmon. And I mean, if they weren't there, we probably wouldn't even go fishing. We'd be out doing a bit of pike fishing maybe, which is nothing compared to fishing for salmon. So keep that in mind, lads. So with that said, God bless you, God bless your family, and God bless the poor salmon of Ireland.